Hey, this is Eric from TOURNA-MIX. I hope everyone's doing well. We're going to be looking at some vocals today in a pop song. So this is the main contest song over at TOURNA-MIX this month in October. It is by Michael Lido of Petty Party. It's called Ghosts and Zombies. I'm a huge fan of this song. Michael, you are awesome. You did an amazing job arranging this, producing it. Whatever you did it well. And we are very lucky to have it. Let me play you a quick snippet of the song, fully mixed, and let's just hear how that sounds. This is the chorus.
I feel a ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive. They're eating me up from the inside, just like a zombie inside.
Absolutely love that. And I printed a mix without any of the processing in the vocals. So this is the final mix with no processing in the vocals. Let's hear that. I've switched it over here. Here we go.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive. They're eating me up from the inside, just like a zombie. A zombie every day, just deeper than night.
All right, so quite a change there. I'm sure you'd agree. Let's take a look at how we got that sound. All right, so I've stripped all the processing off the vocals. Here's what we were given again in solo.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive.
All right, so with none of the processing on, the balances are a little off, like that weird low voice is louder than I had it in the mix, but you get the idea. That's what we were given. So let me just show you what I did on the two background vocals. That's these guys.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive. They're eating me.
Right, so we have kind of this stereo whisper sound and then this like monster sounding voice, which I'm assuming was supposed to be sort of, mixed kind of low. So what I did for this monster voice is I just filtered out the low end. Okay, took out a bit of low mids, nothing too special here, just cleaning up the signal a bit. Then I compressed it with RVox.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone.
But then most importantly is I added microshift right on the actual track to make it stereo.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive.
And then finally I did a bit of gentle limiting. I mean, it's barely even doing anything there. So, essentially we're just high passing and taking out a bit of clutter, compressing, making it stereo and giving it kind of a slightly different chorusy sound, and then limiting the signal. So here it is completely raw.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're...
And it became this.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but...
All right, so, not a big change there. The biggest thing was just the stereo, and in context, it makes a huge difference. Let's take a look at those whispers now. Here's the raw whispers.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but...
So perfect for Ghosts and Zombies. I just love that. So, first again, started with some big filtering.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive. They're eating me up from the inside.
So, this is a 6 dB slope, but it's set to 1K. So when you first saw this EQ, you probably thought it was going to make it sound really thin. In the end, it didn't. It just cleaned it up nicely. Whispers, I guess most of the energy is up here. So, I could push this really, really high. Then I limited the signal.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive.
You can see it's catching some peaks as much as maybe 5 dB. Then I used RVox for squishing it a bit more.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories.
All right, then I crushed it even more with some AR1 from Kush.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive.
Right, I really wanted to try to bring out the expression in that whisper and get every articulation, especially in context with everything going. I wanted it to cut, and then this last plugin is just gain, so that's nothing. Actually, it's not even doing anything. And finally, some reverb.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive.
All right, so that's a fairly long plate reverb, probably about 3 seconds or so, maybe longer. So again, here it was raw.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but
And we ended up here.
you're gone, but memories survive. They're eating me up from the
And we'll take a look at that in the actual song in a minute. So here's our two supporting vocals mixed.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive.
And remember, we started here.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone.
So already we're off to a good start. Let's take a look at that lead vocal. So here it is solo, completely, completely raw, no reverbs, nothing.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories.
So thank God she's a great singer. I've done a fair bit of mixing now, and you can tell this was recorded, not in a professional studio. It's not to say that it's a bad recording. It sounds fine, but you can tell it's not like a super hi-fi studio recording. But thank God she's a great singer, because I find, most of the time that's what's going to matter way beyond the recording quality is just, is it a good vocal? And, is it a good song? Which in this case, I think both are great. So let's go through the processing here. It looks like a lot. 2 of these are just gain plugins, so it's not as bad as it looks. So I started off with some basic EQ. High pass filter at 200 hertz, couple of cuts here at, looks like sort of 1K and 500. So I'm guessing there was some sort of room resonance thing happening there. Let's see if we can hear this, EQ working. Here it is off again.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive. They're eating me up from the inside, just like a zombie. A zombie every day drives deeper than...
Yeah, that's a big change, So high passing out all the lows, and you can really hear those 2 cuts there help to clear out that kind of boxy resonance sound. So that helped, and I was on a roll with RVox, which is, I really like this this plugin or this compressor for pop, and I think it's well loved in general for pop. So I added some of that.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories.
Not being too shy there. It's sort of up to maybe 8 dB at certain peaks. All right, so so there we have it. We have, even, EQ and compression, it's always going to be your 2 best friends. Usually just doing something like this is already going to put you in a great spot. You could probably add some effects to that and have a very good sound, but I definitely did a lot more. So next up was the Pultec, and this is, well, it's pretty wild. I mean, I'm pushing up a ton of 10K. The knob here, it's kind of hard to see, is at 5. All right, so a big wide boost at 10K. But then I'm actually rolling off quite a bit at 5K. All right, so if you're unfamiliar with Pultecs, this is sort of essentially like doing this. It's like a big wide boost at 10K. All right, and then this guy here, this attenuation is actually, as far as I remember, I haven't read the manual in a while. It's a shelf. And so it's, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. This guy's up there. This guy here is pushing down at 5K. So it's kind of doing this. And, this is why I would never do this on a digital EQ. It just looks super weird. And, it's totally counterintuitive. But with Pultecs, they're just famous for this, pushing and pulling similar frequencies. So I did it, and I thought it was cool. And I also used the 100 hertz low shelf to roll off some low end. Let's hear the Pultec. I'm going to turn it off.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive. They're eating me up from the inside, just like a zombie. A zombie every day drives deeper than knife. Feeling the pain when I open my eyes, still reaching for...
Yeah, so it really kind of thins her out. That's probably a lot to do with this. And it just kind of tightens the sound. We're in solo. It's a little hard to tell, what that's actually doing in relation to the song. But that is what I did. Next up was Omega A. Okay, I love this plugin. It adds a really crispy kind of high end to signals. Let me turn that off and see if we can hear this on or off.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive. They're eating me up from the inside, just like a zombie. A zombie every day drives deeper than knife. Feeling the pain when I open my...
Yeah, I absolutely love that. You can hear it, again, it just makes it sound poppier, for lack of a better way of putting it. It sort of tightens the sound. Yeah, it just adds that little crispy, poppy sound that I absolutely love. Next up was sibilance, just doing some sibilance control. Nothing too exciting there, but you can see I have the range set to -10. So this isn't being shy. This is going to definitely be de-essing her quite heavily. I'm going to turn these other plugins off here, or minimize them. And then I added Silica from Kush. This is the brand new plugin, and I'm going to fully admit this. I use this mostly just because I hadn't used it before and it had just come out. Okay, so I had to experiment with it. But I really wanted to add more compression to really squeeze the vocal. And so this is a bit of a quirky compressor. I'm really enjoying it so far, but it's sort of a saturation unit and a compressor. So we have the input here driving this Zener, saturation, which I thought added some cool grit. And then I'm adding additional compression. So you should hear more saturation and more compression here. Let's check it out.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive. They're eating me up from the inside, just like a zombie. A zombie every day drives deeper than knife.
All right, so, I don't hear a ton of saturation there, although there is some. Mostly I just hear more compression. And, in solo, usually when you have this much compression, things almost sort of sound worse. But I know that in context, that's going to hold her down nicely and just make it sound more modern. The next plugin is just gain. So at some point I added half a dB of gain. Woohoo! We're going to move on to the next plugin here, which is just more sheen EQ, adding some 4K here, 4200, and cleaning out some more boxiness. Let's hear that. I'm going to turn it off and then bring it on.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive. They're eating me up from the inside, just like a zombie. A zombie every day drives deeper than knife.
All right, so in solo and with no effects, that's starting to sound pretty thin, but we're going to listen in the song in just a second. Then I just limited her voice with L1.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but
and as you can see, it's hardly moving. So that's just catching the odd peak, like it probably hits 1 dB here. And then some more gain. All right, so let's listen to the vocals in context. They're fully mixed right now, but we don't have any of the effects on. I'm going to turn this reverb off here. So here's the dry mixed vocals. Let's hear how that sounds.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but survive. They're eating me up from the inside.
All right, well, that sounds okay. Here's where they were completely dry with no plugins, no effects, nothing.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive.
Right, and now we're here. Let me turn that off.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive.
Yeah, so they've come a long way, but now we're going to, definitely push them to the next level with effects. Let's just hear the effects all on for a second, and then we'll go through them.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive. They're eating me up from the inside, just like a zombie.
And again, effects off.
Zombie, a zombie every day, just deeper than knife. Feeling the pain.
And back on.
Feeling the pain when I open my eyes. Still reaching for your hand by my side.
All right, so I think the lesson there, as I'm sure you're aware, is that effects play a big role in mixing, and they can have a huge impact on how things sound. So let me run you through those effects now. All right, so I already showed the whispers.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive.
And yeah, I was right earlier. It is a 4-second plate here. Okay, so that one we already kind of looked at. The zombie vocals, these guys.
I feel the ghost of you in my life.
I didn't feel the need to put any effects on those because, it's a low-end source, low register source, I mean, and so I didn't really think it needed any reverb. There was already tons of other effects. And then the lead vocal, let me turn off these three guys here for a second. So here's the plate reverb that I'm using, and again, this is going to be this guy here. Yeah, 4-second plate.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive.
And let's take a look. That is 113 millisecond pre-delay. So that's, I can't remember if I timed that to the track or not, but it's allowing that space, between her and the vocal. So that was the first effect. Next up was Send 56 here, which is going to be the Valhalla delay. I love this thing. So I've got a quarter note delay. It's the Bucket Brigade mode, so it's sort of a dark delay. If we listen just to the delay for a second here, it sounds like this. All right, so a really kind of dark, spooky delay that's a quarter note delay. You can see that this is like the filter here, the EQ filter. It's set to 1K, but it's still really dark. So let's hear that. Let's hear that on her voice here. So here's with the plate and the stereo delay.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive.
All right, and next up is Microshift, one of my favorites. So I'm sending over here to this guy here, Microshift from Sound Toys, a very famous plugin. Let's hear that on.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive.
Right, that really changed the sound. Here it is off again.
They're eating me up from the inside, just like a zombie ever.
Sounds kind of wild and solo, but I really, really dug it in the context of the mix. And then finally, Send 50 is going to be a slap delay. Again, I'm using Valhalla. So let me just close out this other one here. So here we have a short slap. It's 90 milliseconds. I'm using this pitch mode here, which, to be honest, I don't even really know what that is. I'm driving the signal a bit, and that's about it. Let's hear that on.
Every day drives deeper than knife, feeling the pain when
Here's just the slap.
Pain when I open my eyes, still reaching for your hand by my side.
All right, let me put them all back on here and take us out of solo. Here's the final mixed vocals again.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive. They're eating me up from the inside, just like a zombie.
Yeah, so that's where I ended up. And remember, this is where we started.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive. They're eating me up from the inside, just like a zombie.
All right, so there we have it. Now, there's one other thing I haven't showed yet, and it's pretty important. In fact, I'm glad I didn't forget about it. Let me just go over here for a second. Yeah, okay, so this is my all vocals auxiliary. So every vocal ends up here. I added this mag EQ, which affects every vocal in the whole session, and I added some 2.5K. This is a shelf, okay, as well as some 20K. And it looks interesting enough, like even added some 160. I find the controls on this EQ kind of quirky, like 160 doesn't really feel like 160. 650 definitely doesn't feel like 650. So I don't quite know what's going on here, but this is another, excuse me, EQ that I added. Let's take a listen to that. I'm going to turn it off. Let's hear the mix and bring it back in and see how it sounds.
I feel the ghost of you in my life. I know you're gone, but memories survive. They're eating me up from the inside, just like a zombie. A zombie every day drives deeper than night, feeling the pain when I open my eyes, still reaching for your hand by my side, but I'm grabbing at smoke and you're just a ghost.
Yeah, to me, that's where the magic happens. So what happened with this is I actually did some referencing. I didn't have this on. It was off. And I was thinking, I got a pretty good sound, I think. And then I listened to some Dua Lipa and some Taylor Swift, and I was like, oh my God, wow, those sound so much better. But beyond better, I mean, we have to expect Dua Lipa to sound better than something that was, produced in a dorm room. But more importantly than that, it just gave me an idea of how sharp the vocals, needed to be. Like, a lot of pop music, it's incredible how punchy and bright and tight the sounds are. And so it kind of gave me a framework. And so I added this and I much prefer it. So there we go. That is the final mixed vocals in the chorus of this song. If you're a member of TOURNA-MIX, I'm going to be walking through all the other processing in the mix, including how I got my instrumental mix, etc. But for now, that is the vocals. I hope you enjoyed that. If you like mixing competitions, please check us out at TOURNA-MIX, www.tourna-mix.com. We're having a lot of fun. Hope to see you there. Take care.